minutes of The Harder They Fall. So I really just felt like I needed to let me open this chat real quick. Okay. So I had to finish the movie before I even gave a review. I had to finish the movie and I'm gonna keep it a bean. Good movie, passionate. I loved the wardrobe. I love the cinematography. I love the action. I love how gritty it was. I'm only like 80% in love with the casting. Like it's still on my phone right now. Like I'm on the last like little tiny bit. And I think the plot twist was great. I know it's taking me a second to process my feelings. I wanted to really just jump into this raw. So like I love the plot. I love the script. I think the script was really great. I think the script has some really amazing dialogue, like all throughout this movie. Just amazing dialogue, straight, straight through. Um, Everybody is gonna talk about Stagecoach Mary, and I wanted to not be one of the many people talking about Stagecoach Mary, but we have to talk about Stagecoach Mary. So I'm struggling because every scene that I'm watching with Stagecoach Mary, I just keep feeling like there is a social connotation missing because of the casting of Stagecoach Mary. When I think of a fat, dark skinned woman playing or owning a juke joint or a parlor where everyone has to leave their guns at the door because Stagecoach Mary is the only one who's armed inside. There's a social connotation with that being a fat, dark skinned woman. There's a connotation there. If you think of everyone before, and this is kind of how I feel about movies, like we go into a world, right? If we think about everyone who entered the parlor before Nat Love shows up or before the movie starts, like there's no way that we cannot think about white people passing through that space and men of color, black men. If we think about Native American men, like we just think about the way that people are perceiving the name of this parlor, Stagecoach Mary's Parlor. There is a different social relationship with having a fat, dark skinned woman own a parlor and having who they cast Zazie play the character. There's different social connotation. Like for dark skinned women in society, there is a huge oppressive rhetoric. There is a dehumanizing of dark skinned women. And when dark skinned women affirm themselves, society works to disempower them. So if Stagecoach Mary, a dark skinned woman, owns a parlor where everyone has to disarm themselves before they can come in, that speaks to a different kind of power than if a small, light skinned woman owns a parlor and everyone has to disarm themselves. Like, we can't pretend like that's not real. And so what I was struggling with while watching the movie is like, the movie starts with saying like these people existed. And like, I understand like Idris Elba's character isn't originally a dark-skinned man, but that's a different kind of connotation. It's a different kind of nuance when we think of how society perceives these people and how they're cast in the role. So I feel like it took a lot away from the barriers that Stagecoach Mary had to overcome that Zazie did not and will never have to overcome as a light-skinned woman. And so that's the part that I'm struggling with is like, do light-skinned women always have to be cast? Like, do light-skinned women always have to be in the lead? Like, are light-skinned women the only concept of femininity that we can portray? And then if so, why is it that when we do cast dark-skinned women, they do not, the way that the film ended, like Stagecoach Mary makes it to the end of the film, I don't understand why that could not be a dark-skinned woman. Like, even if we think about who Stagecoach Mary, the final battle scene with Stagecoach Mary, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm just struggling because I feel like a huge part, like, just we missed out on a huge part. Oh, give me a second, y'all. I was gonna have some little music playing in the background for y'all, but I'm gonna keep it a bean. I don't know how to do that yet. So when I figure that out, I got y'all. But yeah, so that was one thing that I was like thinking about for the film for most of it. And what I was also doing while I was watching the film was I would every time Zazie would be on the screen, I would just imagine it's Danielle Brooks from Orange is the New Black, Tasty. I would just put Tasty there. I was just like, nope, I could see Danielle Brooks. She would have killed that role. Danielle Brooks would have killed that role. You could see the final battle scene with Regina King really being a real battle between Danielle and Regina, just based off of, even when you think of like what Regina King's character, the story that she tells about how she had to protect her sister and her father's reaction to that. Like, if you think about how even darker children are treated in families, like Regina King's character, like low-key speaks to this imbalance of protection or like rage from her dad in comparison to her sister, and how she had already kind of handled the joint even though she got this like, you know, negative reaction from her dad. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, in this final battle scene, like, Zazie, I'm just I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't know. I'm not buying it. So anytime I saw Zazie on the screen, I was like, that's Danielle Brooks. That's Danielle Brooks. And I just let that be what it was. Let's talk Lakeith Stanfield. Lakeith Stanfield had a tough 2020. I don't know if anybody remembers those like Clubhouse conversations. He was being a little out of pocket. Yeah. So Lakeith Stanfield has had an interesting couple years on social media. He outed a popular social media blog for like perpetuating negative stereotypes and negative discourse within the Black community. And so there's like a huge tear in the community about how people feel about Lakeith Stanfield as a person. One thing that none of us are debating is Lakeith Stanfield as an actor. Not at all. Lakeith Stanfield lights up any screen that he's on. Lakeith Stanfield embodies any character that he portrays. While there is a similarity in like docileness and like this similarity in like waiting with bated breath for some of his lines in a good way between all of the characters that he portrays, he still does a really good job of like differentiating between which character he's playing and who he is and what he brings to each character. So I think that's what's really powerful about him. And in The Harder They Fall, he doesn't miss. Like, he just do not miss as an actor. Truly, Lakeith Stanfield is definitely one of our stronger actors. I'm really glad that he speaks out about working on his mental health. There are obviously some things in his personal life that he's working on, but how many of us are just perfect? Ain't nobody out here just perfect and doesn't have anything to work on. And that doesn't invalidate the accountability for where he has possibly been harmful in his life. So that still remains. And as an actor, he definitely shows up. I do believe a part of like acting though is some of our best actors have the worst trauma. Like, one of my favorite actresses is Viola Davis. Love Viola Davis. I can't imagine the gravity of the life that she's experienced to be able to show up the way that she does on screen, to be able to slip into certain personalities or modes and inflections, and to be able to register facial and, you know, expression so quickly, so naturally. Like, that takes a level of breaking to be built as an actor or actress or any person who's in film. And so I love Viola Davis. And Viola is well known for having had I won't say well known for her trauma. However, it is well known that a part of her story is having had a very traumatizing childhood. So one of the things I love about Lakeith Stanfield is he brings that trauma to the screen. He brings, in this movie, The Harder They Fall, he brings his character's trauma. And I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. Like, I struggle to remember people's names in general. Maybe next time when I do like a review like this, I'll pull up the cast names so we can follow along. But I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, so Lakeith Stanfield's character struggles with violence and is very well known for being quick on the draw. And that's, I think, what's also really ironic, right? Is like, he's known for being quick on the draw, for being fast with his hands, for being able to kill a room of people before, I don't know what they say, the match is lit. I don't know, whatever crazy phrases they were saying back then. But yeah, so like, he's very well known for being like violent and like, you know, having the hands that, you know, can handle the job or whatever. But, and I guess I should have said a spoiler alert, but hopefully if you're this far into watching the video, you've seen it by now. The irony in being that he's well known for being a shooter or good at what he does, and the actual truth is that he's a liar. Like, he's actually just a trickster. He's actually cheating. He cheats every game, and that's the trick, that's the gimmick, you know. That's the gotcha about his character. But he brings this, like, I truly do not want to have to do this, because if it comes down to me versus you, I'm gonna choose myself every time. And unfortunately, in choosing myself, in that self-preservation, that literally requires you to no longer be on this earth anymore. And you could see in that first scene that that's a struggle for his character. It's really dope how Lakeith brings that insecurity to the surface, but also has this very like this power, this what is the word I'm looking for? This stoic, like he can be very stoic at the same time, vulnerable, nervous almost, but at the same time graceful and grounded. I think he did an amazing job with his character. I want to remember Lil Dude's name. Hold up, let me look it up, because I can't even pretend like I know this dude's name. The harder they fall. Okay, so what was his name? RJ Seiler is his name in real life. Oh, he played Jim Beckworth. So I believe he was on Black Lightning. I think he played, I think he was on Black Lightning. Yeah, we're going to do this in real time. Of course, we're live, but like, I think Beckworth was on Black Lightning. And I believe he was the kid who helped hack into the briefcase that they were chasing around for like the last couple seasons. He's a phenomenal actor. I thought he was really, really dope in this movie. I thought RJ Seiler was refreshing to have on screen. I thought he was so natural. I thought RJ Seiler, Jim Beckworth, I thought Jim Beckworth's character was just really refreshing, witty, the comedic relief, obviously, but it came with a level like intelligence that I thought was really dope. It was almost like adorable. You could tell he was the baby of the crew, but I think that the character in himself, RJ Seiler, stands out on any screen he's on. So in the scene when his character is introduced to the film, he's even in the scene with other comedians. Like, he's in the scene with Damon Wayans Jr., and oh boy that played Bobby Brown. Like, he's in the scene with some comedians, people we know that are funny, and he lit up the screen. He stood out. He was, if not the funniest, one of the funniest people on the screen. I thought that was really dope. I think that I don't know what he has in the plans for him, but RJ Seiler, I think, is going to be a really big actor for us. I think he can go there. I think if we gave RJ Seiler like a Frankie Lyman level, like a Why Do Fools Fall in Love, I think he could go there. I could see RJ Seiler being like our next Lorenz Tate. Lorenz Tate is an all-star. He doesn't get enough credit as being one of the greatest actors to ever grace any camera, television show, film, anything. Lorenz Tate is probably one of the best actors alive. And I think RJ Seiler could be the next Lorenz Tate. Like versatile. Lorenz Tate can do funny, he can do drama, he can do thriller, he can do hood, he can go anywhere. I think RJ Cyler has that exact same versatility. I think he has the same comedic relief. I think he can get really passionate. Anything I've seen him in, and I've only seen him in this and Black Lightning, he was really like refreshing and sweet. And I don't want to say, he can be menacing if he needs to be for his character. I love the thing he does with his eyes where he like, you can tell he's kind of like looking into your soul. It's so dope that his character was able to bring, like he was able to bring that to Jim Beckworth, where it was like he wasn't just being funny. Like he wasn't just there to be the comedic relief. He wasn't just there to be the funny kid one. He stood out. And I think that's what made what happens in the movie so intense, you know, when it happened in the way that it did. And again, if you haven't watched the film, major spoilers are happening as I'm talking. So I think for Jim Beckworth's character, because of how great RJ Cyler was at being so familiar, like with the cast, it seemed like he really knew everybody in the cast. Like these my uncles, that's my auntie, that's my uncle over there, that's my, you know, that like he really seemed familiar with everyone in the cast. So he felt really familiar in the film, and it was very much like a G baby moment. I think, you know, we all had a G baby moment. I did. I had to watch the movie in parts. I couldn't watch it all the way through. But I almost had a G baby moment with old Jim Beckworth there. So I think he was really powerful on the screen. Of course, Delroy Lindo, though I thought his part would be a lot bigger. Delroy Lindo is just an all-star. Shout out to Prim. If you're on YouTube, watching me on YouTube, Prim is one of my favorite YouTubers, and he always calls great actors all-stars, and I can't not do that for some reason. Every time I think of, oh, that's a great actor, I automatically go, oh, they're an all-star. But yeah, Delroy Lindo, also an all-star. How great to have Delroy Lindo and Idris Elba in a film, both British actors, and they do a great job of coming off American. The dad on Crooklyn, Delroy Lindo, like, I can't tell y'all how many of my friends was like, Delroy Lindo is our daddy because of Crooklyn. His character plays the sheriff, and he also feels like a father figure to Nat Love, which is the main character. They have really good energy. They have a really good connection to each other. They play off each other really well. You can tell Delroy Lindo treats, what's Delroy's character? Let's look it up because I really don't know off the top of my head. Oh, Bass Reeves. Okay, so you can tell the Sheriff Reeves and Nat Love have this like, you know, surrogate father-son kind of relationship thing. And he's like always trying to keep him at bay almost. But he's also with the shits and he supports whatever his, you know, surrogate son wants to do. And so I think their relationship on screen was really, really passionate. I think it was a really good testament of brotherhood between the two of them. Even with the age difference, it still felt very much like a brotherhood with those father undertones there. Kathy, what was her character's name? Kathy, I don't know the last name. Wilkerson, what was it? Kathy something. Danielle Deadweiler is her name. This is her, so I can show you like her face. This is who I'm talking about. Okay. She killed it. I wish they would have given her more, because I feel like while yes, Jim Beckworth and Lakeith Stanfield's character, whose name escapes me right now, Cherokee Bill. So though Jim Beckworth and Cherokee Bill were supposed to be opposites, I actually think that, what was her name? Kathy Williams and Cherokee Bill were better opponents. They both have this like suspense, this like coy, this almost like silent power about them. And Kathy always felt like she had a trick up her sleeve for anything. Like even with the scene with her and Nat Love when they go into the bank, like she has this kind of versatility about her, but it's on a low. Whereas Jim Beckworth is very upfront about being a trickster. Cherokee Bill was not, and neither was Kathy Williams. And so the two of them, I felt like, were better opposites. I kind of wish they would have played on that more all the way throughout the movie. Maybe where Jim Beckworth was lacking, that's where Kathy Williams would have played in, and maybe the two of them could have played more of a dynamic duo, and they could have had like a big, showdown with Cherokee Bill, especially since Cherokee Bill is supposed to be able to shoot a bunch of people in the room before the lights go dark. Like, if that is his thing, I feel like it would have been a really good job. We would have done a really good job of having Kathy and Jim more of a duo against Cherokee Bill, because the two of them together embody exactly who Cherokee Bill is. He is quick with the guns, just like Jim Beckworth is, but he has this silent grace about him, this silent strength about him, just like Kathy does. So they could have played on that a little bit more, I feel like. So we talked about them. Let's talk about Regina King. Like, let's talk about Trudy Smith. Trudy Smith was probably my most favorite character, in that the way that she was filmed made her feel superhuman. It felt, she just felt magical. Regina, and maybe that's just Regina King in general. I might just be speaking about Regina King's general magic, but Regina King had this magic about her in the film, and I think they might have lost that a little bit in the movie. She initially started off in the movie so magical and powerful, but now that I'm thinking about it, as the movie continued, they took more and more and more and more and more of her power away. And I thought that was really, and I'm thinking about that, it's kind of weird that they did that. That's really odd that they did that with Regina, because she was very much like, her character was stoic, yes, but she was quick on her feet. And she even had a conversation with what's Idris's character? With Rufus Buck. She even had a conversation with Rufus Buck about ways that she could have been utilized and had more power in the situation and possibly saved the town. And he didn't utilize her in that way. But as the film continued, it was just like more and more and more of her strength got taken away. And I thought that was really odd. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go live on TikTok also. And let's, you know what I mean? Since y'all are here, let's multitask. Let's go live and let's talk movies, because I'm going to go live on TikTok. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So, all right, I just went live on TikTok. So if you don't want to watch me on YouTube or on Twitch or on Facebook or on Twitter, you can go to TikTok, and I'm live on TikTok also. Ink very well. Okay, so Regina King's character, right? I loved the story that she told, but I think what I would have loved a whole lot is if they played more on this like magical power that she had, that I felt like she was carrying through the beginning of the movie. So if you're just tuning in on TikTok, I am talking about The Harder They Fall. And I'm talking about how I've already talked about like basically a character review of everyone. I talked about Jim Beckworth. I talked about Cherokee Bill. I talked about Bass Reeves. I talked about the relationships between Bass Reeves and Nat Love. I talked about the relationship between Cherokee Bill and Jim Beckworth, and how Jim Beckworth and Kathy Williams probably would have been a better duo against Cherokee Bill, as opposed to making Jim Beckworth just Cherokee Bill's opponent. If they would have actually more played on the duo between Kathy Williams and Jim Beckworth, I feel like it would have made the final showdown way more powerful, even with all the explosions. Probably could have had more explosions. And then I already talked about Stagecoach Mary. I refuse to be re-triggered by that. I refuse to go there. And I don't want to finish, because I want to finish with Idris Elba and Nat Love, and Idris Elba and Jonathan Majors. So let's talk about Trudy Smith, and then next I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to live with anybody on TikTok. Let's talk about Trudy Smith, and then let's talk about Deon Cole, Wiley Esco. Okay, so Regina King, right? So Regina King's character plays. Here you go. No problem. Let me turn TikTok so that they don't see you, because you know how TikTok is. Okay. So Regina King plays Trudy Smith, right? And Trudy Smith essentially in the film is like Idris Elba's like right hand person, and she's supposed to be, she assists, if you haven't watched the movie, I'm totally spoiling it, but she assists in like his release, right? I already talked about this on YouTube, but I'm gonna tell you on TikTok, I really had an issue with the amount of power that they took from Regina as the film continued. Like, she has this magical grace in the beginning of the film. She has this magical power in the beginning of the film. And then as it goes on, they just like take more and more and more and more of her power away. Say hi, DJ Show.
What up with it?
They take more and more and more of her power away. And I don't really like that. But there is this moment between Regina King and Stagecoach Zazie. So there's Stagecoach Mary and Trudy Smith. And the story like that Trudy tells about what happens to her sister and what happens with her father and like the reaction to all the violence and everything. It's very weird to me how that final showdown ends. It's super strange to me because Regina King literally challenges an entire train of army, military people, but can't handle a final showdown with Zazie, who been getting her ass beat for 48 hours. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm confused by it. So with that, Regina King still was super strong. She played her role very well. I just wish they would have done more with Trudy. She deserved that a whole lot. So let's get into Deon Cole. Deon Cole is the comedian. You've probably seen him on Blackish if you're like a new Deon Cole fan. If you're an old school Deon Cole fan, you probably saw him in Barbershop. Like, Deon Cole went around for a minute. He transforms in this movie. Like, I'm talking about to a totally different world as Wiley Esco in this film. I was not expecting it whatsoever. I was definitely expecting more comedy, but I wasn't expecting so much, not going live right now. I wasn't expecting so much terror. I wasn't expecting him to be so menacing. And you can't even recognize his voice for like a certain like part of the movie. You can't even like recognize that it is Deon Cole, but it is him. He does such a great job. Like, I'm really surprised. I was really surprised. I didn't think that I'm not going to say that he didn't have it in him, but I wasn't sure when someone was going to give him a chance to go there, and he went there. So shout out to Deon Cole for that. All right. Idris Elba and Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors and Viola Davis must be related, because they gonna cry. Like, they're gonna cry. They're gonna cry. You gonna get a cry. Or maybe he's related to old girl from Set It Off. I don't know, but he gonna cry. If it's one thing, when it comes to a role, Jonathan Majors is gonna cry. It's gonna happen. He gonna cry. And I think what happens at the end of the film between him and Idris Elba was like really beautiful. I know it's violent, but it was still like a really beautiful thing that happened. What I think I would have loved to see a lot more from Jonathan Majors are maybe like flashbacks, or maybe we could have seen how much more of a reliance he had on his father, because while I'm not saying that a person especially during that time wouldn't have sought vengeance for the loss of their father, but I feel like just giving us that much of his relationship with his parents makes it hard for us to really connect with the mission of the movie. And then in the middle of the mission of the movie, they give a new mission. So I'm like, what was the mission? Because if you just wanted to make the mission that he went to go get his girl, you could have made that the movie. But if the movie was that he was seeking revenge, that whole middle new mission thing confused me. It really did kind of throw me for a loop. So that's something that I feel like we need to talk about. So I'm gonna take a little quick little break real quick, and we're gonna come on back. If you're on TikTok, you can tune in on YouTube. I'll be back in 5 minutes. It's 5:07. I'll be back in 3 minutes actually. And yeah, so if you just tuned in, I'll be back in 3 minutes on TikTok. And if you're on YouTube, I will be back in 3 minutes. So you can catch the last 15 minutes of the show where we'll talk about Astro World Fest. We're going to get into it. If you want to comment on Astro World Fest, if you have anything that you want to say about Astro World Fest, hop on YouTube. You can hop in the comments. You can hop on Twitter and hop in the comments. Ink very well. Or you can hop on TikTok. If you're on these platforms, you can hop on TikTok and, we can interact there. But I'll be back in 3 minutes.